This is Andrew Baisley, and I thank you for your time and your interest in viewing this short video. I have teamed with legendary polar bear guide Dennis Campari, and together we are working on a new book titled The Great White Bear. The Great White Bear tells the story of the magnificent polar bears of the western Hudson Bay in the very far north of Manitoba, Canada. Having spent the better part of his 50 years living in polar bear country, Dennis is able to tell their story in an insightful, factual, and often very entertaining style. In fact, Dennis was the driver and guide of the very first Tundra buggy, and many of his stories come from that time. As a wildlife photographer, I have spent many years photographing the world's apex predators, from the big cats of Africa and the tigers of India to the great white sharks off the coast of Mexico. But in recent years, I have fallen in love with the polar bears of Hudson Bay, with their noble beauty, with their adorable cubs, and with their fierce struggle for survival in what is arguably the toughest place on Earth. In his easygoing, folksy manner, Dennis tells us about the mother bear and how she gives birth to 2 or 3 cubs in a den far from the frozen ice, and of her fierce struggle to first get those cubs to the ice and then raise them into young adults. He tells us how these bears hunt for ring seal on the frozen ice and of their epic battles with one another for food and females. And he tells us how, when the ice melts and the bears are forced ashore, they forage for any food they can find, and sometimes even catch and eat a beluga whale or 2. Our book is a coffee table book, offset printed to the highest quality with a hardcover and a lay-flat style binding. Dennis's stories will fill the first third of the pages, and my gallery quality full-page photographs will fill the remainder. Each photo is accompanied by some related text selected to complement the mood of the photo and taken from Dennis's writings. So far, over the last several years, Dennis and I have made 6 trips into the subarctic of Hudson Bay to find and photograph the great white bears. And the job is about 50% complete. We are planning, in order to complete photography for the book, another 4 trips. These trips include one using a Zodiac boat to the floe edge, which is the receding edge of the ice as it melts, because the floe edge tends to gather the big males fattened after 5 months of feeding on seal. And a second trip in the summer months to the mouth of the Churchill River, where we hope to photograph bears hunting for beluga whales. A third trip in November will be to the area at the southern end of Hudson Bay where the bears congregate waiting for the sea ice to form. And the final trip will be in late February of 2013 to Wapusk National Forest and to the denning area to photograph the mother bears as they emerge from the dens with their cubs. As you can well imagine, these trips can be quite costly, but necessary to complete work for the book. And so, we are actively seeking pledges from our many friends who are patrons of the arts and would like to see our book on their coffee tables. And as a quick note of clarification, while we readily acknowledge that ongoing global climate change adversely affects the polar bear very survival, global warming is not the focus of our book. The focus of the great white bear is this incredible and noble animal and its epic struggle for survival against the elements, a struggle that has gone on for thousands of years. I wish to thank you for your time and patience in viewing and listening to this presentation.